Hi, it's Jason Roby with Mad Cow Web. Today we're going to look at a really simple hook, and it's going to give us the ability to add whatever we want, but we're going to just put a little message on top of our WooCommerce cart page, and we're going to play around with that hook for a little bit, move it around the page, and then I'll show you as well how to get it on the checkout page. So here we go. Um, so this is a straightforward functions file, and I'm certainly in a child theme. So um, I don't, we don't, we're not going to cover that today, child themes, but there's a million websites out there for that. But we want to use a child theme so we can add custom PHP to our site. And that's what we're going to do. So the first place I always go for adding WooCommerce hooks is Business Bloomer. And I'm going to include all these links in the comments on the video, but businessbloomer.com is Rodolfo's site. He's amazing, and then he provides these visual hook guides for all sorts of different things, including the cart and the checkout, which give you a nice little cheat sheet to add custom content to your website without having to manipulate the template files. So I'm going to assume that we're generally familiar with hooks. It's basically it's a little chunk of code that the developers have put onto the site. In this case, into the WooCommerce plugin that allow us to hook onto their code and add our own code. So just for this first example, I'm going to use this WooCommerce before cart, and I'm going to make this nice and big so it's easy to follow along. And I'm going to include this code chunk as well in the comments, just so you don't have to try and type. But so we're going to add an action, and I'm going to use this WooCommerce before cart, which is technically an action hook. And then we put a little comma, and then we put our own. So we will call this, I always like to namespace them. So Mad Cow above cart message, something like that. And that's just so that nobody else can, if there happens to be an above cart message, so if somebody out there has written a hook, some other plugin, you've been on websites that have 30 plugins or whatever, or 50 or more or whatever. We don't want to step on anybody else's toes, and we don't want their code messing with ours. So that's going to be our hook, and then all we have to do is write a function. You can probably see I'm using VS Code. You can probably see that the VS Code is auto populating for me. I'm using a couple of extensions. This is really not part of the video, but you might as well see them. So tab 9 is my favorite. I pay for I think it's $15 a month, but they're great, well supported. They do a really good job. And then this PHP IntelliFence, I guess, is the other one that I really kind of like. So I don't get any money from these guys, but they're super handy. But you're going to see them show up here. Like when I type in FUN, you can see that it auto populates, and it's pulling in my hook name, Mad Cow above cart message, which is super handy. All right, so literally, like, the simplest thing we can do here is just echo something out, right? So we can do, what's the one that everybody uses, right? Hello world. And I'm running locally here, so I just saved that. And then if I come over here, I've got a local site running. I've put an album. I use the sample data from WooCommerce just so you can see that. So you can see my shop has all of the sample stuff from WooCommerce, and I've already put this album in my shopping cart. And you can see that I just happen to refresh as I'm clicking around. There's my message. So it's showing up super slick. I did this offline so I wouldn't have to bore you with this, but I added a little more fanciness. So now I have a div with my own class with an H2 inside of it, and then I'm closing my div. And you can see that Little important things here, like you have to use double quotes for your class name because it's inside of the single quote on the echo. I'm just in the habit, doesn't make it right or wrong, but I'm in the habit of putting single quotes on my echoes. That way everything inside there is double quotes. And then I'm just going to click over here. So I have a style sheet already going, and I've just given this thing some styling so we can see, you know, we can see it better. So if I come back over here now and hit refresh, there we go. Now I'm going to just go ahead and inspect it so y'all can see what's happening here. And I'm going to zoom in on this for you. So I'm using Elementor, the Hello Elementor theme. So I have this notices wrapper, and then I have this WooCommerce thing which wraps everything, and then my cute little hook, and then everything else in the cart. And if we come over here and look at Rodolfo's page, you can see that it's the very top thing. So there will apparently be notices up above this if we have, you know, put too many things in the cart or it's out of stock or whatever. And then there's ours way at the top. And so what I want to show you is if we come all the way down here, let's just do the very bottom one. So WooCommerce after cart. Just going to copy that. And then if I come over to my functions file, and I'm just going to change the name of this hook. And just as a reminder, he gives us this really cool visual guide here, but these little action hooks are what WooCommerce has put into the code, into the plugin for us. And whatever we add to that, in this case, our above cart message, it will inject it right there. So now we've done the very last one. And if I save this, I come back over to our cart. There you go. Now it's at the bottom. Now, please keep in mind that everybody's cart page is different, and Elementor has their own cart module, I guess it's called. So if you're using like storefront or like a 2024 theme or whatever, it's going to lay out differently. This one happens to be in 2 columns. If it was in a single column, it would be at the very bottom. And then just for giggles, let's just go right in the middle. Yeah, let's put it here, like before shipping, like a ridiculous spot for this message. But all I have to do is change the hook that we're tying onto, that we're hooking onto, if you will. If I save that, come back over to our cart page and refresh, it's gone because there is no shipping. So that's kind of cool. How about we move it up a little bit? And this is just this is like an experiment that you can play with. Like once you have your div or whatever the message is or whatever you're going to be injecting into this hook, once you've got that in place, you can just play around with it, move it around the page. So if we go back over here, we just moved it again. There we go. Now it's up here. And we can see that we go back to Rodolfo's, we use before cart tables, and it's right up here. So it's right above the subtotal and all that stuff. And sure enough, here it is right above the subtotal. And I bet I can stick it over there somewhere. So where's my cart? Yeah, let's try after cart contents. Yeah, then it moves it over there. So you'll just want to play around with, and again, I always use his website to as my guide. He's incredibly helpful, super smart guy. And then coming back to this video, the most important piece of this, what I want you to take away from this is really simple, 4 lines of code. And 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 lines of code, and you can put anything you want, really kind of anywhere on this cart page. And I do want to show while we're here that it's really easy to add this same message, and this is pretty common. I do this often for some clients. If something is on the cart page, they want it on the checkout page. And so all I do in that case, and I think what I'll do is I'll put it back up at the top where we started. And we'll just make sure that it moves back up there. There we go. It's too small now for, there we go, there are two columns. And then if I go to my checkout, it's not there. You can ignore that. It was there before. I was doing some testing before the video. So now what we want to do is we want to add that same cool message to our checkout. And so Rodolfo again has a checkout guide. And I think what I'll do is just put it up at the very, very top. So right under here, and I'm just going to do add action. And then what I'm going to do here is I don't want to have to rewrite this because I've already got my function built, and there's no reason why I can't use the same exact function. So if I just put it in there, notice it's the same exact message. I'm not redefining, oops, forgot my semicolon. I'm not redefining my function, because that would certainly throw it. If I have two mad cow above cart messages, it's going to throw an error for sure. But if I just add the same exact function to that, some random different hook, then all will be happy. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually change this to say above cart and oops, checkout. What I did there, by the way, is I selected what I wanted in VS Code and hit Command D, and it will select all of them for me, and then I can come in here and mess around with it. So, all right. So now I have my cart function, my checkout function, or my cart hook, my checkout hook, the same exact function. So we should see this message on both of them. I just saved it. So if we come over here first to our cart and we refresh, yippee skippy, it's still there. And if we go to checkout and refresh, there we go. And it's showing up way at the very, very top. And just like we saw before, we want to play with this a little bit. Let's come down here like after order notes. And all I have to do is change the hook that we're tying to. I'm not changing my function. I'm going to hit save. And we should see it move on the checkout page. I don't know where it's going to go, but oh, there we go, way down here. So again, wherever you want this to show up, you'll just play around with different hooks that are provided by WooCommerce, and you can move that function all around the page. I guess the only thing I would also say is I gave that div a class, and one thing you'll notice about our cart, and this is true of most WooCommerce pages, is that they have a very clear body class. If I come up here, it is right here, WooCommerce cart. So I could make my CSS more specific and say, all right, on the cart page, I want the background to be blue, but on the checkout page, I want the background to be red, or whatever you want to do. So you can always use those body classes in WooCommerce to move things around. All right.